Welcome to Find Your Strong, the podcast that's here to help you free yourself from food rules, fitness guilt, and those weird detox teas.
Oh, do not get me started, Ella.
All right, I won't. I'm Ella, nutritionist and intuitive eating counselor.
And I'm Christine, personal trainer, intuitive eating counselor, and your hype woman for joyful movement.
You are, woohoo! Together we talk to experts, share stories, and hopefully leave you feeling a bit more at home in your body.
So if you're ready, let's find your strong.
Hello. How are you?
Oh,
we're both tired, aren't we?
Yeah, we're okay. Welcome to all you lovely listeners who are coming
Yes.
back for like a bit of a pep up, and we're going, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay, let's bring the energy up a little bit.
Yeah,
we're going to
so
talk about something really interesting today, aren't we?
Yeah, we're just tired and hormonal, and we like to keep it real. So that's just all we're saying. And we're now old and tired and hormonal.
Old and tired and hormonal. I mean, it just keeps getting better,
But
right?
embracing our age.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Also, if you are feeling like we are today, you might just want to snuggle up on your sofa and listen to this rather than
grab some
go
tea.
for a run. Exactly.
Yeah, so Ella, do you want to introduce the topic today?
Shall I? Yes. So this is based on a conversation we had recently about intuitive eating and whether it is for everyone or not. And that kind of triggered us to have a chat about anyone who watches this on YouTube.
Sorry.
We had just a beautiful yawn.
Sorry.
That's okay. I lost my train of thought now.
Intuitive eating.
Intuitive eating, is it for everyone or not? And I think that sort of triggered a conversation between Christine and me about that, is it or is it not? And we both think that statement that intuitive eating isn't for everyone is based on basically misunderstanding what intuitive eating is. So we thought we would talk to you about it so that we can maybe explain intuitive eating a little bit better, and for whom it is really appropriate, for whom there might be some disclaimers or some sort of slight detours around it, and what it actually means when we are saying the words intuitive eating. What does that actually include and doesn't include? So what's your view on it, being an intuitive eating
I don't want to be like, I feel like it's not a religion. It's not like you believe in it or you don't, and it's not like we're trying to convert you to Christianity, or we're not trying to be evangelical. What we're trying to say is there's a lot of myths out there, or there's a lot of misinformation around intuitive eating, and I'd like everybody listening to be informed as opposed to kind of carry misconception around about what it is, because then you can decide if it's for you or not, as we're talking about. So we're both intuitive eating counselors. Ella works much more in that field than I do, though, don't you, Ella?
Yes, yeah, basically, yeah. I'm missing the exercise PT kind of element that you have.
Yeah, and we probably have slightly different ways of talking about it, but I see it as, so Evelyn Tripoli and Elise Resch, who've both been on the show, they were the co-creators, co-founders of intuitive eating back in the day. Please read the book if you get a chance. Absolutely brilliant. The workbook is fantastic if you like a bit of practical application. But it is a framework. It is not rules. It's not you must do this, you must do it in order. No. It's a guide to how you can break the diet cycle and get off the diet train, stop chronic dieting, or if you've had disordered eating. I mean, if you've had an eating disorder, obviously you've got to work in recovery before you would come to intuitive eating. But we can talk about that further on. But it is just a way of finding freedom around food, satisfaction around food, and feeling more at ease with exercise, not punishing yourself all the time, and respecting your body and having more fun, basically. Isn't it?
Yeah, beautifully summarized. Yeah, I totally agree. I think we need to see it as a framework and not a set of rules. And I think that's where people get it maybe slightly wrong and misinterpret it. I know that a lot of people think of intuitive eating mostly in terms of hunger and fullness. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, which is absolutely part of it, but also it's something that maybe isn't as accessible to some people. And I want to maybe start with that because I think that is, in my view, is probably the biggest misinterpretation of intuitive eating, that you see it as simply the fullness, hunger and fullness diet almost, that you can only eat when you're hungry and you have to stop when you're full, which is basically a set of rules. Now, if you are recovering from an eating disorder, you may, for a long time, not have access to hunger and fullness signals, or you might have some signals that are misinterpreted by you because your body is sending you stuff that you have been ignoring, or that aren't really telling you the full picture. So it could be a really tricky one to tune into those things. Likewise, if you're neurodivergent,
Hmm.
tapping into those signals might not be accessible for you, might not ever be accessible to you. And therefore, I want to sort of step away from hunger and fullness a little bit and say there are 10 principles in the intuitive eating framework, whilst maybe two of them don't really fit with what you where you're at the moment. There are eight others that we can look at and maybe
Yeah.
work on. And I think that's why I take slight issue with the statement that intuitive eating isn't for everyone. Yes, on a very binary basis, there might be aspects of intuitive eating that are maybe not appropriate for you right this moment in time, but there's a huge amount of other stuff that you can work on. Would you agree?
Yes, and I would say that I understand some people see it as the hunger and fullness diet, but
Mm.
another population of people see it as eat whatever you want as often as
Yeah.
all the time, eat all the donuts and keep eating all the donuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's not what it is either.
and that's absolutely not what it is.
No. No.
And I had another misconception, which you might share yourself, was that I don't have time to eat intuitively. I'm too busy.
Ah,
I
yeah,
don't,
that's
and
a good
also,
one.
and I can't cook what I want every night. I've got to cook
Mm-hmm.
me for the family, which
Mm-hmm.
is a very valid point, but you can still
Mm-hmm.
be intuitive within that.
Absolutely. This is it. It's
Yeah.
being intuitive within your bandwidth, within your whatever constraints you have. So that's a really good point. For example, I had a client who just basically said, I haven't got the money to eat what I want all the time. I just can't afford. I
Yeah.
want that, but I can't go out and buy it. So there are certain things that you know that you are dealing with that might make it harder to work on particular areas, but within that constraint, you can still work on it, and you can pick out some of the principles that that you know are not affected by any of those constraints. So, for example, if it is a privilege, total privilege, to be able to buy food and have a selection of different
Yes.
foods and choose what you fancy in the moment. And I would say the majority of people are just not able to do that either, as I said, for financial reasons, but also maybe there's no access. Maybe you haven't got a nice, whole food shop around the corner when you want to go and buy yourself something like a really nice ready meal or whatever you want. You might not have the access to that. So, within that constraint, you can still work on your intuition, on, making peace with food, working against diet culture mentality, finding body acceptance. There's all sorts of different things that you can still access, even though some of those things might not be accessible. Would that
Yeah,
make
and
sense?
it's taking the morality out of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's so often you hear
Yeah.
good foods, bad food,
Yeah. Yeah.
junk foods. This is
Yeah.
you kind of think, and as we know, all food has nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Even
Mm.
those little bars, even the protein bars that called killer protein bars, every bit of food has some nutrition, and some
Yeah.
foods are more nutrient dense than others, but it doesn't mean that they're bad.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no morality attached, and you
Yeah.
are allowed to have satisfaction as well. And
Yeah.
it's what I like about it is it makes you start thinking, what do I like? What textures do I like? What kind of food
Mm.
do I like? How do
Mm.
I feel satisfied when I finish a meal?
Mm-hmm.
And I like a bit of sweet after my dinner, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel satisfied until I've had something sweet.
I'm with you.
I'll keep searching all night until I get. If I go to somebody's house for a few days, I'm like, and there's no chocolate after the meal, I'm like, I'm not ready to go to bed yet. Have you got
No.
any?
You need to find new friends, love.
I know, I know. So I don't. It's something which is designed to bring free. It's evidence-based, and
Mm,
there's more and more studies being done all the time. But it
hmm.
is basically about giving yourself permission to eat food, as we did when we were kids before diet culture got the better of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And we've spent decades trying to fit an ideal and trying to be good and eat like
Mm,
sparrows and not eat
mm.
too much, not be greedy and not all these words and all these connotations that it has.
Yeah.
And it is hard. It is hard because diet culture keeps knocking at the door
Yeah.
and we're very much swimming upstream. But if you actually have freedom around food, it is a gift. And
Yeah.
it's something which you have to work on, especially if you've come from a disordered background of,
Mm,
but it is worth it. So to be able to
mm.
go to a cafe with your friend and not go, oh, I shouldn't have that, just actually go, oh, what looks nice and have
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And not sit there going, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. I better go for a run now. Just actually enjoying it, enjoying
Yeah.
chatting with your friend, eating some cake or whatever you
Hmm.
want to eat.
Hmm.
That is a gift. And
Yeah.
that's why I feel so strongly about it because so many of us walk around constantly counting and compensating. And
Yeah.
do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And in terms of there's something you said earlier. I can't quite remember what you said, but that made me think of the flexibility and the freedom that we have when we give ourselves permission is one thing. Um, it's not always all of it though, and I just want to say it in the sense of disordered eating and eating disorders.
Hmm.
When you are coming from a place of very severely disordered eating or you're suffering from a restrictive eating disorder, I'm just using that as an example. Sometimes you need a period of time where you have that framework of structure around a meal plan. You need that to get back to a level where your brain works so that it can make decisions, where you are in a place where you can tune into your body. When you are severely calorie restricted and in a deficit, your brain isn't really working the way that it can and should. And therefore, you may need the structure of a meal plan to get you back to that. So it's like feeding you back to a place where, you can function properly. In that sense, yes, intuitive eating, in the sense of I'm picking stuff when I'm hungry, when I need to eat food, is not going to work for you. You need something in addition. While you're doing that, there's no reason why you can't work on making peace with food or
Yeah.
rejecting the diet culture or trying to tap into your belief system. But I think that's where people kind of feel like, actually, no, if you are suffering from an eating disorder, intuitive eating cannot be used for you. And I hear a lot
Yeah.
of dietitians talk about it like that. But when you speak to Elise Resch, for example, she's a massive advocate for using intuitive eating principles whilst recovering from an eating disorder. So,
Yeah, and it is, if I quite like, and ADHD thing, but I quite like a bit of structure. So I like to think
mm,
in terms of breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe
hmm,
snacks.
hmm,
I like to think of it like that rather than
hmm,
thinking, what do I want to eat now? What do I want? I just like to think. But then for every snack or meal, I go, what would I like?
hmm,
Am I
yeah,
hungry? Am I not hungry? What
yeah,
is going on with, do you know what I
yeah,
mean? But I still like a tiny bit of structure.
hmm,
Do you
yeah.
know what I
I
mean?
do, and I think you're not alone. I think it is really, really helpful, especially if you're someone who would very easily forget to eat. Then having that structure and saying, okay, I'm going to eat then, and then, roughly, and then within that constraint of timing, you're going to choose, what do I fancy? Do I fancy something sweet, something savory, something cold, something warm, whatever it might be? And there is the flexibility. The flexibility isn't necessarily, oh, I'm going to eat when I feel like it,
Yeah,
which for an
exactly.
ADHD brain could be nothing until lunchtime and then maybe a quick snack and then nothing until dinner time because you're so engrossed in something or you just forget to eat. That's not going to be helpful for you. But saying, I'm going to eat at those times and then I'll see what I fancy, that's brilliant. That's flexible. That's, you know, gives you that freedom within a bit of
A-
structure.
And it also is that thing that if I get too hungry, it's not a good sensation for me anyway.
No.
So I
Yeah.
don't enjoy that feeling. So I want to make sure I eat regularly. So I like to eat regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, but what I'm saying is, as you say, there's no hard and fast rules.
No.
It's just about actually tuning in, which takes time. But noticing, okay, maybe I ate too much there, or maybe I didn't eat quite enough because I'm still a bit hungry.
Mm.
Thinking I've had my breakfast, but an hour later I still feel really hungry. Maybe I'll have something else.
Yeah.
I'm not going, oh, but I had breakfast an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
I can't possibly eat. No, you
Yeah.
can because
Yeah.
you're hungry.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
is, you might notice hunger in many, many ways. You might just feel a bit lethargic. You might feel, there's many ways, but
Mm.
hungry. There's many ways to notice hunger rather than your tummy rumbling. It doesn't happen for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's just getting to know yourself in terms of how food feels when you eat regular intervals, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. And I think that again is a really good example for someone who hasn't got access to the physical sensations of hunger to look at, well, what other signs are there that you might be hungry? You know, lack of concentration. I know I've worked with someone who felt terribly sad when they got too hungry.
Oh,
Yeah, they almost got a little bit tearful. They felt really low. And I'm like, could that be because you're hungry? When's the last time you ate? And they're like, oh, it's all sorts of other things that even if the physical side of things isn't accessible, you can probably tap into that for, you know.
and you know, it's about that as well, building back that trust with your body. If you
Yeah.
have gone for years of restriction
Mm,
and your body has never really known where the next meal is coming from, or you know
mm,
what I mean, and your metabolism's gone all over the place. If you can just build back the trust, and to do that, you need to eat regularly.
hmm.
So
Yeah.
that can be part of the beginning of your journey is just actually feeding yourself at regular intervals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your body gets to know, oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to be all right. I'm being fed regularly. It's
Yeah.
okay. We can go, ah, that's all right.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of movement, would you say there are some people for whom that principle, the movement feel the difference principle, isn't accessible? Would you say there is something that might make people think, oh, intuitive eating isn't for me because I can't tick the movement box, sort of thing?
What the movement box being you either exercise, what do you mean? It's like all or nothing.
To kind of work with that principle in particular, movement feel the difference. Would you say there are some people for whom that might not be as accessible?
Yes, 100%, because it's all about, again, and you know, interlinked with dieting. It's like
Mm,
exercise to lose weight. If you've had a
hmm.
big dinner, you go for a big walk, you go
Mm,
for a run, you compensate. Exercise is about weight loss, the body composition.
mm,
It's about how you look. It's about,
mm,
or you're just used to punishing yourself through exercise. So it can be really difficult to feel the difference
mm,
and actually enjoy moving or
mm,
choose movement that is not so punishing.
mm,
That's a very hard thing, especially if you come from, we had Caroline Toshak on, whose episode is going to come out in a few weeks, but she very much was an athlete. And
mm,
that's a really hard thing to find then a balance with movement after
mm,
that.
mm,
That isn't punishing, but is also fulfilling.
mm,
So yeah, I would say that is a principle everybody can work with because we've all got stuff around movement, all of
mm.
us. And we can all kind of encourage ourselves to find a bit more pleasure and joy in movement
Yeah.
and a bit less punishment in movement. So that's definitely one that you can work with. I don't think I never thought, oh, that's something people can't do. I think you can
Okay.
work on it
Yeah.
because I'm not there yet all the time. I
Yeah.
100%. And I have to keep asking myself, how am I feeling? Is this too
Yeah.
much? Am I punishing myself or I'm having joy afterwards, but is this too, am I pushing my body to, it is a question that
Yeah.
you ask, you get used to asking yourself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, I hope, encouraging for people who might have a really um tricky relationship with movement because I was also just thinking that movement has so many different it can look can look so different for different people. Movement for some people might be going for a gentle walk or doing some stretches. For some people, it might be lifting weights, whatever it might be, or dancing or whatever. And I think again, that's where the flexibility comes in, right? When you approach movement on a flexible kind of level, you give yourself more permission to feel what it feels like rather than you just go down that route of I'm training this for this and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and getting into this mindset of I'm doing it for weight loss, I'm doing it just because I feel I have to, and you're punishing yourself. So I think, yeah, I probably agree with you that everyone can work with that
Yeah,
principle on
but
some level.
this it doesn't mean so it doesn't mean that I'm not I don't just do what I fancy all the time. I
Mm,
very much it's like the gentle nutrition.
mm,
There's gentle structure in my movement
yeah,
routine because I want to take care of my joints and I want to,
yeah,
do you
yeah,
know what I mean? I want to keep moving as long as possible. I like to challenge myself. I like to
yeah,
train for things. I like to,
yeah,
that's all okay, but it is building in that flexibility and that
mm,
self-care and that
yeah,
what is your why, thinking about why
yeah,
you're doing it, how your body's
yeah,
feeling and paying
yeah.
attention to that rather than just pushing through.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I
Um,
think that might not be accessible for everybody because if you have a disability or you're like you sat in a wheelchair or you have some health issues, that kind of pushing might not be available. And that's why I mentioned, just gentle stuff
yeah.
might be, and it's still valid. It's still,
Even what I'm saying,
mm,
what I'm saying is yes, a little bit of gentle structure
mm,
once you've made peace with movement,
mm,
but that gentle structure looks different for
for
everybody.
everybody.
That
Yeah,
can
exactly.
be yoga, that can be gentle exercise, that can
Mm,
be you meet yourself where you're at. You don't, do you know what I mean? You don't look at
mm,
other people and think you should be doing that, you should be doing that.
yeah.
It's
It's
about
you. It's about
it's
you.
it's about you and what
Mm,
works for your body.
yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? And it
Yeah.
is so it's to me, I've never thought, oh, that's something people can't work with. I think
Mm,
it's not easy all the time.
mm,
Everybody can have a look at how they move and really ask themselves why they're doing it and do they enjoy it? Do they have any fun in it? Could they do other stuff? If it didn't make a difference to their bodies, would they still move in the same way?
yeah.
How do you want to feel when you move? Do you want to feel energized? Do you want to feel, do you know what I mean,
Mm,
excited? Do you want to feel less tired? How do you want to feel? I think
yeah.
those questions we don't think about asking.
No, no, exactly. And everyone, as you said, everyone can ask those questions, can sort
Yeah.
of tap into that.
And just as much as intuitive eating is not about eating all the donuts all the time,
Mm,
you know, joyful movement is not about just doing a little bit of movement for 5 minutes when you
no.
can't see. It can be any sort of, there's a spectrum. You
Mm,
might be an athlete. You can still move intuitively. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
Still build that in.
yeah, yeah,
So it's not a, you know, it's not an all or nothing because that's the exact opposite of what we're trying. Everybody is different when it comes to
exactly.
movement,
Yeah.
but it is about tuning in and asking yourself how you feel
Mm-hmm.
very regularly and how you want
Mm-hmm.
to feel. Is this punishing? Is this helping me? Is this hurting me? Is it too
Yeah.
much for me? Am I exhausted? Am I enjoying it? What am I? It is asking questions which you never thought to ask yourself.
Yeah,
Do
exactly.
you know
And
what I
and
mean?
that's exactly what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
Everyone can do that,
Yes.
regardless of where their starting point is or where they're at health-wise and mobility-wise and all of that. Everyone can do that. And that leads nicely into the honor your health with gentle nutrition kind of part, because that is one of those things that can very easily be misused and used as a set of rules. And I think again, this is open to misinterpretation because if you walk straight into that part, you might just take take the structure or the idea of nutritional information and make it into a framework that isn't flexible. So
Yes.
whilst absolutely intuitive eating isn't about just eating donuts all the time, although you have full permission to do that, but you
Yes.
will actually notice, and this is when you, like you said, when you ask yourself questions, how does that make me feel? That is when the honoring your health with gentle nutrition part comes in, because if you do that you will notice, I'm 100% certain that you're not feeling great,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, that's where, you can kind of, you need that flexibility, but you also need a little bit of the structure that comes with knowing about what might feel good and might not feel good in your body to, you have authority to do whatever you want, but the structure starts by noticing what feels good in your body and what doesn't feel good in your body. So you build your own little structure with a lot of flexibility in there. Does that make any
Yeah.
sense, or does that just make sense in my head?
No, it makes a huge amount of sense. And it is also, if you are celiac, you can still eat
Ah,
intuitively. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? If
of
you,
course.
and
Yeah.
it's a framework. It's
Mm-hmm.
guidelines, and it mainly is about you feeling and
Yeah.
learning to notice, oh, how do I feel? Am I
Mm.
full? Am I too full? Am I, and it's all okay. So it's all
Mm-hmm.
just a learning process that we'll be
Mm-hmm.
doing for the rest of our lives. You never have to
Mm-hmm.
okay, now I'm a intuitive eater. We're all
Yeah.
just trying.
Yeah.
It's all okay. And sometimes I eat too little, sometimes I eat too much, and that's all okay.
That's all fine. Yeah.
Sometimes I eat because I want to have the cake, and
Mm-hmm.
that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't eat the cake, and that's
Mm-hmm.
also fine. And it is just because knowing why and not, do you know what I mean? It's a
Mm-hmm.
very different thing. It's kind of, you have that permission.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I feel like we could talk about it for hours, to be honest, because it's such a big topic.
Yeah,
But
but I
I
think
think,
we will probably repeat what we've been saying all along, because it is in a nutshell, it is very much about intuitive eating can be for everybody,
yeah,
right? Because it is about tuning in, it's be about asking yourself questions. It's not about following a set of rules. It's not about, yes, it is a framework with guidance, but it doesn't mean that they're set in stone, and there's flexibility within that. And there should be flexibility within your bandwidth of, what can I work with and what may I want to park for a little while. So I think it is, yeah, I think
and
that's,
it is like, there's things that are so joyful. I tell you, it's
mm,
worth it's going to. I remember the first time I went to a bakery and just went, I could have anything here. I
mm,
have to just look at what I think is healthy, what
mm-hmm,
I think has probably got least fat in it, or maybe is
mm-hmm,
best better for me, and I can
mm-hmm.
eat literally whatever I want, whatever is drawing me in. I can buy it and I can eat it. And it is
Isn't
that
that amazing?
it sounds so simple, but it
Yeah,
is for somebody who's had disordered eating and
yeah,
eating disorders, that is a very
yeah,
hard thing to come by.
yeah.
And working through the workbook and has and doing the course itself really
Mm,
helps.
mm,
And it's still a work in progress, but there is an access point for everyone. And to be honest, you're
100%.
probably doing a bit of it already because those days where you go on holiday and eat all the bread and cheese in France, you come back, you don't want bread and cheese for a while.
No,
Naturally, you don't want it.
yeah,
You're like, I'm a bit done with that. I feel like I need
yeah,
some fresh salads and fruit. You kind of naturally do that, don't you? Your body kind of
100%. Yeah,
craves
yeah,
more fresh food.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's,
yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
No, no, but what you said is spot on. It's exactly that. And it's not always a conscious thing. And I think invitation to anyone listening to maybe reflect on when that has happened to you. I would bet that most people listening to this will have had that experience where they're like, all you can eat buffet. Next day, maybe you just fancied a fruit salad or something
Hmm.
lighter or something that wasn't, you know, process or whatever it is. And again, there's no good or bad foods in this, but your body might tell you, actually, that was delicious, but today, I had enough of that. I want something different, something that brings back a little bit of balance into, the system. So,
100%. So people are probably already sensing that, but you maybe
mhm.
just go, oh, just ignore it and do what you think you should do.
Yeah,
And it's just always going, hold on, why am I?
yeah.
And it is that sort of, you can, yeah, we'll talk about it more. But I wanted to talk before we leave about the weight loss thing. So the fact
Hmm.
that in Germany it was translated into
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Intuitive Guide to Weight Loss or something.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The title was something along the lines of losing weight intuitively. And it was not because Elise Resch and Evelyn Tribbley wanted it to be translated like that. It's the publisher who decided that would sell more copies.
But there is, so people, I have a number of clients. So when I used to work more in the intuitive eating field, I had a number of clients that were so worried about gaining weight because they thought if I just eat all the stuff that I am,
Mm,
give myself full permission to eat all the food, I'm just going to put weight on and never stop putting weight on.
mm,
And that is, that it's a natural fear because of the
mm-hmm,
society we live in. And
mm-hmm,
it's just a natural thing. And the fact is, your body is very smart.
mm-hmm,
And the whole idea of giving yourself permission, but also checking in with yourself, oh, I feel really full.
mm-hmm,
I don't feel comfortable. The whole idea is eventually getting in tune. Your body
mm-hmm,
kind of finding its happy place because it's getting what it needs
mm-hmm,
rather than what you are trying to give it as little as possible to fit into whatever size you need to fit in or to,
mm-hmm,
do you know what I mean? You're
mm-hmm.
actually giving it what it craves, what it needs, what it
Yeah, and therefore it won't turn into the size of the moon just because if you listen to it, it will tell you now's probably a good time to stop. Now
and
we're
there
talking.
is a set point range for
Mm-hmm,
everybody. And we've done this, there's a really good YouTube video on it, which I'll put in the show notes. But the
mm-hmm,
idea is the more you diet and restrict,
mm-hmm,
you've got a set point range, which is about, I don't know, up to about 15 pounds
mm-hmm,
or something like that.
mm-hmm,
Don't quote me on that. But it goes up. And it naturally will go up a little bit every time you lose weight, you put on the weight, you lose
mm-hmm,
weight, because that's what your body is being very smart and trying to protect you against
mm.
famine and all of that. But we all have a set point range, and that might not be where we want to be.
No, yeah,
And that is the problem. That is the hard thing. Because in
yeah.
this culture, we are all told we should be this. And
Mm.
actually, our bodies might want to be something entirely a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
And
I just want to say one thing about the naturally tuning in and stopping where we feel full. There's one little disclaimer there for some people who may be having ADHD
hmm
symptoms who are dopamine hunters. Some people find food the easiest way to get a dopamine hit and therefore find it incredibly hard to stop eating. So,
Yes,
again, that doesn't mean intuitive eating isn't for you. That just means maybe we can focus on where else can you get your dopamine from that would work. So we talked a little bit about that with Caroline Troshak in the episode that's coming out later this month. But it's again, that doesn't mean if that sort of resonates with you, that doesn't mean intuitive eating isn't for you. It just means that maybe we need to approach it from a slightly different angle than just noticing when you feel full.
100%.
Right?
Yes. And I think also there's a lot of comorbidities between like binge eating disorder and ADHD. I know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And if you are in the middle of an eating disorder, as we would say, please go seek out a professional
Oh,
and get
yeah.
some help. And this
Yeah.
can be a way, like the bridge from that
Hmm.
recovery treatment then back to kind of normal eating. But it is not or we wouldn't recommend, I don't know, I'm just saying I wouldn't recommend it necessarily to somebody in the middle of an eating disorder.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because I think if you've got the means to do it, it would be really helpful to get some help,
Hmm.
first of all.
Hmm.
But I absolutely agree with you. For somebody that's not got an eating disorder but does get
Hmm.
that dopamine rush when they
Hmm.
eat certain foods, then it would
Hmm.
be really helpful
Hmm.
to have
Yeah.
that approach and think about
Yeah.
other things that can bring that
Yeah.
dopamine
Well,
hit.
also, luckily, there are lots of dietitians now that are trained in intuitive eating counseling. So if you find yourself in need of quite specialist kind of support, you will be able to find someone who has been trained in intuitive eating, but can also support you with your eating disorder. So I would highly recommend you search out someone like that because that way you start your path with intuitive eating even whilst you are in the middle of an eating disorder.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great
Mm.
advice. You're very good, Ella. Well done.
So are you, right? We nutshelled. I think we talked
Did we
about
nutshell? Did
most.
we nutshell?
Yeah, well, I think so.
So
I think
I
so.
just see it as, if I say my nutshell, I
Go
see it
on.
as finding freedom around food
Hmm.
and helping your body find its happy place.
Nice.
Just like feeling like this is where my body wants to be, and I'm being kind to it, and I'm also being kind to it is that nice symbiotic
Yeah.
relationship that you're actually,
Yeah.
and the only thing that I struggled with is that my body wanted to be a couple of sizes bigger than I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what it wanted, and that was where I'm at my healthiest and happiest.
Yeah.
But there's where the work is. So we're not
Yeah.
trying to sell it as, oh, you're gonna not put on any weight, and you might
No,
not. You
we
might
have no
not.
idea what's going to happen, right?
You might put weight on, you might not put weight on, you might lose weight.
Yeah.
We cannot say.
Yeah.
You cannot say.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead,
Don't be
Ella.
sorry. Oh, shall I nutshell as well?
You
I
nutshell.
just I might not nutshell because I've kind of done that earlier, but I would say don't write it off.
Don't write it off.
I
Yeah.
think just think about where you're at. Maybe just get in touch with an intuitive eating coach, counselor, dietitian, and have a session or have a
Yeah.
chat and see where intuitive eating could be, what entry point might be there for you. Because it is, everyone can benefit from it, everybody. I'm 100% convinced of that. And I'm not saying that just because I work in the field. I really do believe that with all my heart. And I think don't let anyone tell you, oh, yeah, but it's not for you because of X, Y, and Z, because it can be. And there's so much about it. There's 10 principles, there's so many different
And
aspects of it.
I don't even like the word principles because it is a very flexible,
Yeah, yeah.
fluid.
Maybe they need to change that.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah,
know
I
what I mean?
agree.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
because it's about leading with self-compassion
Yeah, yeah,
and finding that flexibility to fit in with your life. So it is,
yeah,
yeah. But
yeah,
anyway, go have a look. We're going to put some resources in the show notes.
yeah.
And don't write it off.
Don't
You
write it
might
off.
just dip in and have a look and see what you think and let us
Yeah.
know. That would be amazing.
Exactly. And if you found this helpful, share it, download it, talk about it. That's kind of our bread and butter. We are not getting sponsorship for this. We're not getting paid for this. So the way that you can support us is by sharing this episode and sharing the podcast and reviewing it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Ella. Thank you all,
Thank
lovely
you,
listeners,
Christine.
and we shall see you next time.
Bye bye.